back in Connecticut again. It's been a while. My first visit to Connecticut was approximately 3 years ago to Hartford. And then I was in Connecticut approximately 2 years ago, and I forget the exact city, but it's not too far from where we are now. Oh, Bridgeport. Right next door. Okay. So thanks to Sister Hanifa for putting this together. The idea came from her, and she did the work to make this happen. So please put your hands together for her. So my team that's here tonight, Brother Ron, Sister Cassandra, also Sister Hanifa's youth, her children who are handling the merchandise table at the back. Brother Hanif and company, very big thanks to you all as well. I want to get right into the message tonight, and I want to start with the children. You see me looking down because I want to time myself. Y'all know I can be long-winded. And I know it's a weekday, so I don't want to be long-winded. And there's a lot of folk here, so I want to make sure I leave a little bit of time at the end to sign books and take some pictures. Miseducation machine. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a doctor of clinical psychology and a certified school psychologist as well as principal in political sciences. I'm in private practice in Pennsylvania where I evaluate children for special education disabilities. So I want to start by talking about the children. And I want my parents to listen in really well when I discuss this topic because it's critical. I have a very big problem with the fact that many of you, my parents, mom, dad, big brother, big sister, grandma, foster parents, and adoptive parents, too quickly are we given permission to the school districts in Connecticut to evaluate our children for imaginary, glow-in-the-dark, cannot be proven learning disability. I want you to slow down on the learning disability diagnosis button. Stop doing it, especially for children beneath the 4th grade. Why is your 1st grader being tested for a learning disability? Why is your 2nd grader being tested for math disability? Why is your kindergartner being evaluated for ADHD, which is nothing more than ain't no daddy at home disorder, ADHD. And why do we call it ain't no daddy at home disorder? Because 85% of black boys diagnosed not only with ADHD, but also conduct disorder and oppositional defiance disorder. 85% of them don't have a father figure in their lives. This is not about psychiatry. It is not about psychology. It is about a war against black men that sends the fathers to jail, leaves the mothers at home alone to raise these boys on their own. And when a less than perfect job is done, because it is almost impossible for a woman to make a man, just as it is almost impossible for a man to turn his daughter into a woman. They come up with these convenient diagnoses. And who's most likely to be diagnosed with ADHD? Single-parented black boys from the hood. Single-parent black boys from the hood is the largest and fastest growing group of diagnosed ADHD boys. But what do we know about ADHD? The disorder came to us in 1980, created by the American Psychiatric Association, financed by the Wall Street drug companies in New York City. They paid for the diagnosis. If you don't believe me, do your own research. Anything I say tonight is an absolute fact. But for most of you, you're hearing it for the first time, so I'll oblige you to do your own research. Is it a coincidence that they invented ADD in 1980, the same year that the CIA dropped off crack cocaine in the black community? They started doping up the adults and doping up the children at the exact same time. In 1987, they added an H to ADD. It went from ADD to ADHD. They added the word hyperactivity. Why did they add hyperactivity to the ADD? What was wrong with ADD? Why did it have to become ADHD? And that's because there's no drug that can make your child pay attention. All the drugs are designed to arrest normal brain function. So if you diagnose ADD, it doesn't automatically lead to a prescription. ADHD automatically leads to a prescription, and it drives up the publicly traded stock on Wall Street. How much money do they make diagnosing black and brown boys with ADHD? $32 billion. I didn't say million. I said billion with a B, and that is annually, every year, because we don't want to teach our kids how to sit still. Every year, because we're not teaching discipline. And if you are raising African children, and my Latino parents, I'm talking to most of y'all, because most of you African too. I know sometimes you don't like to admit it, but your grandmother was just like mine. Okay? Now, here's the thing that we need to understand. The most important responsibility of an African parent is to teach your child self-discipline. If your child doesn't have self-discipline, he is likely to fall victim to America's war against black males. Discipline. What is Dr. Umar's definition of discipline? It's the ability to do what you don't feel like doing, because it has to be done whether you like it or not. Does your son have that? Does your daughter have that? The primary areas of discipline are what? Sexual discipline, not having 1 million children on the street. Financial discipline, being able to save your money. Emotional discipline, being able to control your emotions, because if you can't, you can end up dead. You have to teach your child discipline. But for most of us, our kids aren't taught it. And why? Because you cannot teach what you yourself do not have. And many of our parents here in Connecticut, you lack the discipline. Okay? When I was a principal, I could look at the child. And if the child got in trouble and the parent had to come to the school to see about the child, I could almost predict your personality based on your child's personality. If the daughter comes to 6th grade with a mini skirt and a see-through thong and high heels, I'm willing to bet a 45-year-old mother is going to come up with a mini skirt, see-through thong, and stiletto. If the son comes to school in the 3rd grade with a gold chain and an earring in his ear, I'm willing to bet when his 35-year-old father walks in the door, he's going to be dressed the same way. Why am I bringing this up? Because I'm tired of us asking what happened to our children. What went wrong with our children? You are what went wrong with our children.
Amen to
Apples
that.
don't fall far from the tree. Apples don't fall far from the tree. Your child is a consistent printout of everything you ever thought about them. Let me say that again. Your ideas and opinions about your own blood children is what they become. They are nothing more than the walking estimation of what their parents have for them. Your child grows up not to be much, it's because you didn't think much of them. Your child drops out of high school because you never dropped in school. Kids don't drop out of education until parents drop out of their lives. Your daughter runs around with a child at the age of 13 and 14. I'm not blaming her. I'm willing to bet that the father wasn't there on his job. And I can't automatically blame the father, because so often now I find in therapy that some of you mothers are doing all you can to punish the father by keeping him away from the children. So we got to look at it both ways. Now let me go back to this ADHD. I brought with me my DSM-5. If you're raising a child who has not yet graduated from high school, especially if they're in middle school or younger, you need to get a copy of it. It's a $60 book, Barnes & Noble, any bookstore, you can get it online. A lot of the black bookstores don't carry it, but they need to. Yes, it's a white book, but it's doing a hell of a job against black children. Now when I open up this DSM-5, brothers and sisters, I'm going to turn to ADHD. And I'm going to read you the diagnostic criteria for ADHD. This is exactly what we use when we determine whether or not your child has ain't no daddy at home disorder. Now, wait a minute. Some of you are going to say that my son's father is home. So you can't say my son has ain't no daddy at home disorder, because daddy's there. Well, if daddy is there, then it becomes ain't no discipline at home. And if daddy is there and daddy is with his discipline, then it becomes an attachment disruption to the home dysfunction. In other words, I'm talking about kids who live in houses where mother and father fight all day. I'm talking about kids who live in houses who have to put up with emotional say this on behalf of every black woman who's ever been sexually taken advantage of. What's so sad about sexual molestation, which makes it one of the worst forms of trauma, is that the child is expected to forget about it and get on with it while the perpetrator, uncle, grandpa, big brother, pastor, coach, mother, auntie, sister, because contrary to popular belief, women molest as much as men. They're less likely to be reported and more likely to get away with it. And then that molested child goes to school in Hartford or Bridgeport or Stratford. They go to school and they're not doing their work, so the teacher misconstrues trauma as a learning disability. And now your second grade daughter is being miseducated because she got molested. And why are so many black children being molested? Children of any color for that matter, but we focusing on ours. Because many of us in this room don't know how to choose our babysitters too well. And we love to leave our children with anyone who's willing to take them. Fellas should realize it only takes 60 seconds to sexually molest a child. You have to get on your game. Because once the innocence of a child is taken, all kinds of stuff could end up coming up. Like homosexuality, that we're being told is a natural form of things. Amazing. It's been so natural, we've never seen it explode as it has exploded during the Obama era. And why are they introducing it to children in first and second grade? Irregardless of whether you support the lifestyle or not, I think we can all agree that first and second grade is not the age where a child should be introduced to alternative forms of love and intimacy. I was in Chicago a few months ago where I learned that in Chicago right now they have a new middle school health education course where they teach our 5th, 6th, and 7th graders in Chicago right now how to use anal rectum condoms. This is part of the health curriculum in Chicago right now. In California, homosexual history and studies have been included into the social studies framework. In New York and Chicago, and now Atlanta, we have public schools established exclusively for the benefit of LGBT children. Now, I want to be very clear with you, Connecticut. I don't support the lifestyle at all. I never will. But I do not hate any African person. We all got our issues. Some of us got homosexual issues. Some of us got pedophile issues. Some of us got we in love with white women instead of our own women issues. We all got it. But we all have to work out. I couldn't help myself last night when I learned that the brother who played opposite Denzel Washington in The Great Debaters, I think his name is Nate Parker, he finally produced the first full feature-length movie on Nat Turner, the greatest slave revolt in American history, August of 1831. I know it well because I was born on the day of the revolution, August the 21st. So I'm sitting up here celebrating Nate Parker playing Nat Turner, and then I find out that Nate Parker is married to one of the people Nat Turner was at war against. The brother who played Selma. Okay, pretty good movie. I think it could have been better. It lacked content, but it was good because even our young people are beginning to forget exactly who the good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was. But after applauding the job that the brother did who played Dr. King, I found out 5 minutes later he married to someone who Dr. King would have been opposed to at the time he was struggling. How do you represent African heroes and sheroes in theater and then go home and represent white supremacy? It's a contradiction, something that has to be dealt with. Now, I know brothers would ask the obvious question, Dr. Johnson, you don't seem like a hateful brother, you're high-spirited. Why do you have a problem with me dating outside my race? What do you have against white females? I don't have anything against white females. I wouldn't disrespect a white woman any more than I would want a white man disrespecting one of my 2 beautiful daughters. But I am against it because I love black women so much. And I see that black women are the least likely to get married in this country. So if black women having the lowest marriage rate in America, how can any black man who gives any iota of damn about his people commit his life and his pocketbook to the woman of another race? See, marriage is an economic contract. Take the love out. Take the sex out. Take the anniversaries out. Take the weddings out. Marriage is about business. And that's why whenever marriages don't work out, the So when a black man takes his wealth and commits it to the woman of another race, taken from people who don't have enough,